Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another episode of PC Rig Personal Update. Now, if you haven't seen the previous episode, you can find that over there in the top right hand corner of this video, and that video goes through the case, the graphics card, CPU, all of that stuff, and basically says what the PC's for and why it's all there. This video is just an update to show you what's changed in my PC and bring you up to date with my current plans for this system. Now, most of you will already know that this system is going to be custom water cooled with a custom loop in the very near future. And that's why the previous update of the personal rig update went through the fact that I was utilizing a fairly modest cooling solution of a Hyper 212 from Cooler Master on an overclocked 6900K. A lot of you are like, why on earth have you done that? That's silly. Well, that was meant to be a temporary solution, but unfortunately the water cooling aspects of the rig have to wait a little bit longer, as something has happened over the last week that I will share with you in the next week or so, and then you will understand why this has been delayed a little bit. Don't worry, it is actually a good reason. It just means that my time has been taken up with something else and I can't have two big projects on the go at the same time. So, as I had a little bit of spare time, and as I have just finished doing a editing PC build guide that will be shared with you in just over a week's time, I now have access to a new cooler. And normally water coolers, I don't think they're that interesting. A lot of them are very similar. They do a very good job of keeping your processor cool. Some of them look pretty good, but they're not really worth shouting home about, which is why I don't often do reviews. This is a little bit different though, because while I still don't want to do a really in-depth review, I did want to address the new cooler that has basically become my favourite CPU cooler, which is the Kraken X62. Now, this is from NZXT and it's a 280mm cooler, so it's got a very wide surface area. It does a brilliant job of cooling your CPU. It's fairly quiet as well with the stock fans, and even at load, like I say, it's fairly quiet and it does a fantastic job of keeping your processor cool. Now, as I did have a little bit of spare time, I wanted to put this in my personal rig, because the main thing about this that's so exciting is just how good it looks. Adding a CPU cooler to your system doesn't just have to be for cooling now, it can be for looks as well, as this has RGB lighting on it, but it's got like a really cool mirrored effect that makes your system look absolutely incredible. So this is the part of the video where I swap out my Hyper 212 LED and swap it with the much better 280mm Kraken X62. As you can probably tell, installation was really simple. It took around about 20 minutes. If you've ever done a all-in-one installation before, it will probably take less, and if you're not filming yourself doing it, it will of course take less time as well. But it does take a little bit more time than it looks like it's going to from installation videos from the manufacturer where they cut loads of stuff out. Trust me, this does take around about 15 minutes, as it's a little bit fiddly, but it is fairly straightforward. Now, the main advantage to this particular radiator is the fact that it is 280mm, so you're going to need a large case to get this in, but as long as you can do that, you're going to get very good cooling performance. And immediately from turning this thing on, it was so fantastic just how quiet this thing was. Now, the old solution was very, very quiet at idle, and as you've probably noticed, I have swapped out the fans from the stock NZXT fans to Corsair's ML magnetic levitation fans, mainly just to make this a fair test, as that's what I was using on my previous cooling solution. So while the fans are slightly bigger at 140mm versus 120, I wanted to keep the lighting that I had from the old fans, as well as basically making it an apples to apples comparison, as you're only really seeing the advantage of the water cooling radiator rather than the fans themselves. So we're eliminating all variables here. And as you can now tell from the following clips, it is ridiculously quiet at idle, ridiculously quiet at load, and comparing it to the absolute racket that I had when I was rendering videos on the old Hyper 212 solution, the difference is just quite frankly laughable. So it should now be apparent that this is a really quiet cooling solution, even running this thing under load. This was all set to the fan profile silent though in Asus AI Suite, and if you turn up the fans to full load, you're obviously going to be able to notice that there is a jet going off in your system, just as it was before in my previous air-only cooled system. But the thing that's really impressive about this is that you can get cooling performance that is far superior while still maintaining a near silent build, as even rendering a video with an overclocked 6900K at 3.8 GHz, this system, even rendering a video 100% load, still only reached about 55 degrees, while the system remained somewhat inaudible, which is really, really impressive. And I'm almost going to be sad to actually water cool this system with a custom loop, because it's just such an incredible thing to have a system that is working away at 100% and you just would never know. Now, this is the point in the video where I did want to share with you the RGB lighting and just how good the Kraken looked, but unfortunately I basically couldn't get the RGB to work on my system. Now, I know that it definitely does work, as I moved this from a previous system, as the editing build that is coming very soon, I was having loads of fun playing about with all the RGB settings, getting some really cool mirrored effects, but for some strange reason it just won't work on this system. I'm going to be in contact with NZXT to actually ask why this is, but I can only get one stock effect working, as it will just not show up in the cam software at all. I've tried different USB cables as well, and that hasn't fixed it at all. I know the USB header works, as I had it working before with the front panel of my case, so it's a bit disappointing that I can't customize the RGB lighting, but I will update this video and show, or at least share with you, what the problem is when I discover what it is. But for the time being, I will just be leaving it with the stock white setting, which still looks incredible and is actually the color I would have gone for, but it's kind of pointless really having an RGB customization option if you can't customize any of the RGB. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what is going to happen there. And there you go, that has been the personal rig update. Hopefully it's not been too long. I did want to try and keep this one short and sweet. But there you go, that should show you the advantages of swapping from an air cooler to an all-in-one cooler. Hopefully it's been good. Like the video if you like it, dislike if you haven't. A massive thanks to Overclockers UK for actually supplying the X62 used in this video. And stay tuned for a ridiculous amount of PC build content coming very, very soon. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.